She walked into the bank she'd built from the ground up, calm, confident, and proud. But within minutes, the room turned cold. Whispers, side glances, then the words no one should ever hear. "We can't hand out that kind of money to people like you." They didn't see the leader who had broken barriers and rewritten history. They only saw the color of her skin. What they didn't know was that this customer wasn't just any woman. She was their boss. And in exactly 7 minutes, their entire world would come crashing down. But before that moment of truth, let's rewind to where it all began and the lesson that would expose a truth this bank could never hide again. Angela Freeman had lived her entire life proving people wrong. From a small-town girl with big dreams to the youngest executive in one of the nation's largest banks, she had built her success brick by brick. No shortcuts, no favors. Her mornings began before sunrise. Her nights often ended long after the lights in the office went dark. Respect wasn't given to her. She earned it one hard decision at a time. Behind every promotion, every accolade, was a quiet battle fought in boardrooms where she was often the only black woman at the table. Yet she carried herself with grace, believing that if she worked twice as hard, her excellence would speak louder than their prejudice ever could. To her employees, Angela was a face of fairness, a leader who preached equality, inclusion, and integrity. But beneath the success stories and polished corporate slogans, she had begun to notice something unsettling. Complaints from minority clients, subtle patterns of bias buried in data sheets that most would overlook. So, one morning, she decided to see for herself what was really happening behind the counters that bore her name. No security entourage, no press, no CEO badge, just a woman walking into her own bank as a stranger. What she was about to witness inside that branch would shake her faith in everything she'd built and expose a truth even she wasn't prepared to face. When Angela stepped through the revolving doors of Meridian Financial's downtown branch, the morning light spilling through the glass caught the gold letters of the company's motto: integrity, trust, respect. Words she had written into the mission statement herself. Words that suddenly felt heavier than ever. She wore no designer suit today, just a simple navy sweater, dark slacks, and her natural hair tied back neatly. To everyone else, she looked like any other customer waiting for a transaction. No one recognized the woman who had built this very branch, who signed the paychecks that kept its doors open. That was the point. She wanted to see how her people treated ordinary customers. At first, she simply watched. A white businessman in a tailored suit entered just after her. Within seconds, 2 tellers rushed to greet him with bright smiles. "Good morning, sir," one said as they escorted him past a line to a private desk. Minutes later, an elderly black couple approached the counter. The smiles faded. The tone changed. "Please take a seat," they were told flatly. No warmth, no urgency, just quiet dismissal. It didn't take long for Angela to see the pattern. Those who looked like they belonged were treated with care. Those who didn't were treated like inconveniences. The numbers she'd seen in reports were no longer statistics. They had faces now, voices, and tired eyes. 37 minutes passed before anyone even called Angela to counter. By then, 3 customers who arrived after her had already been served. She kept her composure, sliding her withdrawal slip across the counter with quiet confidence. The teller, a young woman named Beth, glanced at the form, then froze. $115,000, she repeated, voice tight. Her gaze flicked from the paper to Angela's modest clothes, her expression shifting from routine to suspicion. She leaned toward the colleague next to her, whispering something. They both looked back and laughed. The sound hit like a slap, not loud, not cruel on the surface, but soaked in condescension. Angela stood still, calm on the outside, but her chest tightened. She'd seen this look before, the disbelief that someone who looked like her could own anything of value. Moments later, a man stepped up behind the teller, tall, broad-shouldered, with a badge that reads Senior Teller. He crossed his arms. "Is there a problem here?" he asked loudly enough for the whole lobby to hear. Heads turned. Conversations paused. Suddenly, all eyes were on Angela. Her voice stayed steady. "No problem. I'd just like to make a withdrawal." But the tone around her shifted like a temperature drop. Whispers. Glances. One woman clutched her purse closer. The senior teller took her ID and bank card, holding them like evidence, not documents. "We've had a lot of suspicious activity lately," he said, his gaze sharp, his meaning clear. "We just need to be sure these funds actually belong to you." Angela could feel the stares drilling into her. The judgment wasn't spoken. It didn't need to be. Every pause, every side glance carried the same silent accusation. She doesn't belong here. Then came the manager, Jessica Keller, tall, polished, and confident. The kind of manager who thought authority came with a higher moral ground. She approached with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I understand there's some confusion about your request." "There's no confusion," Angela replied. "Just a customer accessing her own money." Jessica's smile tightened. "Well, 15,000 is quite a bit of cash. May I ask what's for?" The question hung in the air, one that no white customer before Angela had been asked that morning. The tension grew thicker with every second of silence. Jessica leaned in slightly. "You see, this branch serves a certain class of clientele," she said softly, but not softly enough. "We have to be careful." Angela felt her heartbeat steady, her expression unchanging. Years of experience had taught her to stay calm when others tried to provoke her. She had been here before, in different rooms, different tones, but always the same message. Know your place. Behind Jessica, two tellers exchanged smirks. One muttered something under his breath, and laughter rippled through the staff. Angela straightened, her posture perfect, her tone level. "I'd like to complete my transaction." Jessica's voice sharpened. "Perhaps you'd be more comfortable at the check-cashing place down the street. They're more familiar with your type of banking needs." The words sliced through the air. Customers in the lobby stopped pretending not to listen. The quiet hum of the bank fell still. Angela glanced at the security cameras. 4 of them, positioned at perfect angles. Every insult, every sneer, every degrading tone, all of it was being recorded. That was the moment her calm turned into resolve. She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. The tellers exchanged nervous looks. Jessica's patience thinned. "Photography isn't allowed here," she snapped. Angela didn't flinch. "Neither is discrimination," she said evenly. A single sentence, calm, factual, devastating. Jessica's face flushed red, her confidence cracking as whispers spread through the lobby. Somewhere deep inside, she must have felt it, the shift of power she hadn't seen coming. But before Jessica could regain control, before the staff could realize who they were humiliating, one phone call would turn this quiet confrontation into a reckoning none of them would ever forget. Jessica's forced smile had vanished now, replaced by the kind of panic people wear when their power begins to crumble. The security guard appeared beside her, heavy boots echoing across the polished marble floor. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to leave," he said, his tone sharp, rehearsed, the same one used on those they think won't fight back. The customers watched in silence, some with pity, others with quiet satisfaction. Angela's heart pounded, not from fear, but from fury, not just for herself, but for every person who had ever been humiliated in a place that promised equality. She took a slow breath, meeting the guard's eyes. "Before I go," she said calmly, "I think you should call the regional director." Jessica folded her arms. "And why would I do that?" Angela's reply came steady, cutting through the room like thunder. "Because I am her." A stunned silence fell over the lobby. The guard froze mid-step. The tellers exchanged horrified looks. And Jessica's confident posture collapsed like paper in the rain. The room's energy shifted completely. The whispers now about her, not Angela. The same people who had smirked a moment ago now looked at the floor, pretending not to exist. Angela reached into her bag and placed her ID card, embossed with the company's seal, on the counter. The name was unmistakable. Angela Morris, Regional Director. The color drained from Jessica's face. Her voice cracked, fumbling for an apology that sounded more like panic than remorse. I didn't realize," but Angela cut her off softly. "You didn't care to." Her voice carried the weight of years, not just her own, but generations before her who had been spoken down to, second-guessed, dismissed. The silence stretched on, thick and heavy, until even the air felt guilty. Somewhere, a customer began clapping, a slow, hesitant rhythm that grew louder as others joined in. It wasn't about celebration. It was about recognition, about someone, finally, standing tall where silence had once been expected. But Angela didn't smile. She didn't bask in victory, because deep down, she knew this moment wasn't about one woman proving her worth. It was about exposing a system that never should have doubted it in the first place. She turned toward Jessica, whose eyes brimmed with regret that had come far too late, and said quietly, "We'll talk in my office." Then, without raising her voice, without a single ounce of anger left, she walked out, leaving behind the echo of truth in every corner of that marble room. But as the cameras rolled and the story spread, the real reckoning began, one that would test not just the bank's reputation, but the nation's conscience. The following week, the video footage from the bank's security cameras leaked online. Not from Angela herself, but from an employee who couldn't stomach the hypocrisy any longer. Within hours, it spread across social media, igniting outrage and reflection in equal measure. People saw a woman humiliated, not because of what she'd done, but because of who she was assumed to be. They saw power disguised as prejudice, and silence masquerading as professionalism. As the story gained traction, Meridian Financial issued public apologies, suspended staff, and promised diversity training. But Angela knew training wouldn't fix what was broken, because this wasn't about ignorance. It was about arrogance. It was about a system that rewards comfort over conscience, image over integrity. Still, she chose not to resign. Instead, she rebuilt. She used her position to rewrite policies, to hire differently, to hold people accountable. Her story became part of a broader movement, a reminder that racism doesn't always come in shouts and slurs. Sometimes it hides behind polite smiles and corporate policies. Months later, when she walked into that same branch again, the walls still gleamed, but something was different. Respect wasn't forced anymore, it was felt. As she looked around, she realized this wasn't just about her victory. It was about the quiet strength of every person who refuses to be reduced by another's bias. And though change moves slowly, it always begins with someone who decides not to stay silent. Because in the end, racism thrives on silence, and silence is a choice. So, the question is, when you witness injustice, will you choose comfort or courage?